Then when she was girl-turned-grown 17, struck by her own strangeness and by the whole idea of seasons, she had put it on like a coat and fastened it around her. October was her name. Mid-morning, on a flaming day in that season, a Saturday, October sat in the upstairs kitchenette at Pemberton House, sewing on her black iron Singer. It was 1950. She was 23, and thanking her lucky stars for a room in the best house for Negro women teachers in Wyandotte County. Situated in the middle of the block on Osceola Avenue, the two-story white clapboard set the standard for decent, with its deep front yard and arbor-like pear trees, its clipped hedges and the painted wicker chairs on the porch. From her window she could look down on the backyard and see Mrs. Pemberton's precious marigolds bunched along the back fence, and in front of them a few wilting tomato plants and short rows of collards that waited to be tenderized by the first frost in Mr. Pemberton's garden. A few months before, on the very same June day that Cora had pushed her to take advantage of the vacancy coming up at Pemberton House, October Brown had knocked on the door, hoping. Word was that you had to know somebody. For her cadet teacher year at Stowe School, she had lived with the Reverend Jackson and his wife. Not so bad, but farther away and further down the scale of nice. Mr. Pemberton, in undershirt and suspenders, had opened the door, but his wife, Lydia Pemberton, gold hoops sparkling, crown of silvery braids, had invited her in. "We don't take nothing but school teachers," Mrs. Pemberton had said. When October explained that indeed she was a teacher, Mrs. Pemberton had looked her up and down. "Whereabouts?" And October had told her about her cadet year at Stowe, her room at the Jacksons' place, mentioned Chillicothe, Ohio, where she had grown up, and because Mrs. Pemberton had seemed unmoved and uninterested so far, spoken of her two aunts who had raised her and her sister Virgie with good home training. "Y'all are getting younger every year. You know any of the other girls here?" Mrs. Pemberton had asked. October explained that Cora Jocelyn Jones had been her lead teacher at Stowe, that they had become good friends. The mention of an established connection to a recognized good citizen had finally satisfied Mrs. Pemberton. "Follow me," she said, and led October on a two-story tour of hardwood floors and high ceilings, French provincial sitting room, smoke blue, damask drapes and lace shears, mahogany dining table that could comfortably seat 12 at least, two buffets, china closets, curio cabinets full of whatnots. Upstairs, all the women's rooms, Mrs. Pemberton did tap lightly before she charged in, had highly polished mahogany or oak beds, tables, desks, quilts or chenille bedspreads, no nails allowed papered walls. Photographs, though, on desks, and floor lamps and winged chairs, stuffed chairs, Venetian blinds and valances. Then she showed her the kitchenette, a larger bedroom with a 2-burner and a tiny icebox, and "You see the sun goes down right outside that window right there." As they went back down the stairs, Mrs. Pemberton told her in no uncertain terms that she and Mr. Pemberton operated a decent house, that nobody under their roof smoked or drank, and that no men were allowed upstairs, but that the women could have company in the sitting room downstairs. Yes, October understood. Yes, she was lucky to have her kitchenette. Since daybreak of that October Saturday, she had been up sewing, fiddling with the buttons on the lightweight wool suit that she planned to wear to the first Du Bois club meeting that afternoon. She had nearly finished reinforcing the zipper when she felt the loud thump of something entirely too heavy against the back of the house. She wrapped herself more tightly in her house coat and went to the window. Without raising the shade higher, she could see a man, muscular, youngish, in the yard below, struggling to shift a ladder closer to her window. She had seen him before. One morning weeks earlier, she had been waiting on the porch for